Three, two, one. What's up, George? What's going on in the House of Craze tonight?
In the House of Craze tonight, it is just us two. We will be chatting tonight for the next hour, I would think, about Kickstarter and funding goals. We're going to talk about that, and then we're going to take questions from everybody. Whoever's got questions, let's get chatting, bro.
Let's get chatting, crack-a-lack, and let's get it.
We are the only show for independents all around, giving you a platform to spread your word all over town. Catch the Craze is the place to promote to your fans with the Dreamer, Medina, and Sam the Crazy Man. Subscribe to our show and never miss an episode. It's time to get your mans, listen to us on the go. Updated every week, we never miss a day. Join the squad, come on in. It's time to catch the Craze. If you are an independent, catch the Craze. Making moves on your own, catch the Craze. On your grind in the streets, catch the Craze. Join the movement, catch the Craze.
Yeah, George, we did it again. Come on now. You know you want to do it. Catch the Craze. Welcome to Catch the Craze podcast. I'm your host with the most, Sam the Crazy Man Vera, and I am with
George the Dreamer Medina. What's happening, everyone?
Yay!
Welcome to another exciting episode of Catch the Craze. It is Tuesday, December 2nd. Yes, we are in December, and we are coming to you live. We're coming to you live tonight. What up, Michael? We don't have a guest tonight.
Negative.
Unfortunately, he had to cancel. But that's all right. He had us up, let us know that he wasn't going to be able to make it tonight. So we are just going to be talking to you guys about the Get Your Meds topic, and then we're going to take questions. But if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe, like, comment, share the video with anyone who is interested in learning about or just likes to hear about, independent creators and artists and things of that nature, because that's what we do here. What's up, Sam? How you doing, brother?
What's going down, James Brown?
It's going down.
It's going down. What's up, Lou? Lou in his house.
It's the alternative view, Michael.
He goes, he's looking at the other one. There's two.
I know. I hate that vertical joint.
Yeah,
it's more people are doing it, but yeah, I don't like it. I like the just the regular way it looks regularly.
Yeah.
What's the other one for? Just to create shorts and stuff like that? It's just
that's a YouTube thing. I mean, that's a StreamYard. They created this this new setting.
Yeah.
Which is I think it's pretty cool. But the problem is that you cannot adjust. Like when I'm adjusting the squares on ours, I can't do it to the side one. It just automatically does it its own. So sometimes it doesn't even look good.
Right. Yeah, I guess they're still working on some stuff.
Yeah.
On the glitches.
They're trying.
Yeah, no, I hear that. But yeah, man, I'm out here. I'm in Cali for one more day. I'll be flying back to New York tomorrow, visiting family. My brother-in-law fairly recently, he got a Tesla, bro. For the
nice.
So
the tank one?
No.
Oh.
Just the I think it's the Model Y. I don't know, one of those models. But Tesla gives you like free trials of the stuff that they have. So he has the free trial for the self-driving thing.
Yeah.
Dude, he put it. We got in the car yesterday and let that thing self-drive. It is insane.
Really?
It is insane, dude. It's crazy. He's sitting, we're having a conversation. As long as he's sitting there and like, because the camera is now turned on inside the car to make sure you're paying attention and you're not falling asleep. So as long as you're doing that, bro, this thing it takes you, it makes the turns, it stops at the red lights. If you can turn on red, it turns on red on its own. It's bananas, bro. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Really? I don't know if I trust it, bro. I can't give up control.
Bro, and so it's got 4 modes or more. I don't know. It's got sloth if you want to drive slow. It's got something called standard,
sloth?
which is sloth, like a slow, like the sloths are slow. So I don't know what that looks like. But then you have the standard, then you have one called Hurry, and then you have one called Mad Max. I was like, yo, but it drives. It drives. You actually do feel safe in it, bro. Like,
Do
it's
you?
gonna follow all the rules, and it's got so many cameras that it sees everything. So let's say, for example, you're driving down the street and a car's coming in the intersection. It'll see that car. It'll stop because it'll see it coming before you and I can see it coming. You know, it's always paying attention. We were
Really?
driving down the street, and there were like a group of kids on the corner, I guess, waiting for the bus, and they were playing around. The car slowed down in case one of these kids ran out into the street. It just slowed down
Really?
until it sensed that the kid was kind of moving away, and they kept driving. I'm like, yo, this is crazy, bro.
That is loco in the coco.
Yeah, yeah, it's got a that yeah. He was talking about the it got Fast and Furious mode. It's called Mad Max. I don't know if there's a Fast and Furious mode, but his has one called Mad Max. Yeah, it's crazy though. I was like, we were talking about that. We're like, yo, we've lived through we went from typewriters to self-driving cars. You know what I'm saying? Like we were around when rotary phones were around. Like, how much have we seen in our lifetimes? It's insane, the technologies that we've seen, bro.
It is,
It's
bro.
nuts. It's nuts. Yeah, so we were doing that shit yesterday. We're gonna take it out for a spin after the podcast.
Oh yeah.
Do some more self-driving. But yeah, man. Yeah. So I'm here for one more night. I'll be back in New York tomorrow. And but what you got going on, dog? Because we haven't even spoken about what you're doing.
What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm getting ready to fulfill the digital rewards for Forbidden this week. I just checked my account today, so the funds just dropped today. So I will be sending tomorrow all the digital rewards out. So look in your inboxes. That'll go out, and the proof goes out today to get for the proofs. So the file goes out for the proofs tonight, and so it should take about 2 weeks before, hopefully. What's
Yeah.
up, ET? To get the proofs, and I'm working on Cosmic, man. And I'm having a blast drawing Cosmic Wars.
Cosmic Wars.
It's funny because I was pulling up the pages because back in the days I used to do all my backgrounds in 3D, and I
Yeah.
used to do several different programs to create the backgrounds. So now I'm trying to recreate that look, right? By hand, and so that's what's giving me more. Like how do I create that same kind of energy, but make it feel more like it blends well because everything's hand illustrated. So it's just the color choices. Like I'm playing a lot with colors and different swatches and brush styles to try to get that stuff. So yeah, I'm just loving the colors and I'm loving what's coming out. So then when I was drawing Gorf and rocks, so I thought of Street Fighter. I was like, oh, so I wanted to create like a video game looking Street Fighter thing
Yeah.
to have fun with it. So that was pretty dope. So yeah, I'm
All
just
right.
getting ready, right now. So far, 24 people have signed up. We launch in February. I'm excited about that. And that's it. And then, getting ready to close out the year. Just finished Thanksgiving, with the fam, and getting ready for, the next stage of the comic game, bro.
I
What about
know,
you?
man. I know. Yeah, now we're gonna talk about a lot of that stuff tonight. But yeah, no, for me, so for those who obviously who pledge to the campaign, the books are at the printer. I don't know what printer you're using. I'm not gonna say which one I'm using online because I don't want to bash them. But it's crazy because like you'll send them files or whatever, and it'll take 3 or 4 days for them to get back to you sometimes.
Yes.
And it's kind of frustrating. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of
Yes.
frustrating because you send your stuff, especially when you're doing a Kickstarter, because people want their stuff right away.
Yep.
And so, and rightfully so. Shoot, when I pledge to Kickstarters, I'd like that stuff back right away. But yeah, so my stuff went out similar to yours last Tuesday. We were on the show that night. It cleared. I sent everything. I sent everything out on Wednesday. On Monday, they're like, "All right, cool, we're going to print." And it's like, "Yo, we had this conversation on Wednesday." Now I get it. The holiday, Thanksgiving happened and everything like that, but like it gets a little frustrating.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So those are going. They're at the printer. The prints have been sent out to the printer, so everybody who gets a free print will get that. And then yeah, and then the digital rewards are going to be going out tomorrow. So everybody should get them. If you haven't filled out your surveys, please do so. I think there are a couple of more still out there. Not too many, which is great. Thank you guys for filling those out. And yeah, man. And then next year, getting ready for conventions, the conventions that I'm going to be doing next year, finishing up the shameless plug as far as the graphic novel itself. I was talking to some stores here about possibly putting the graphic novel in stores. And I know you talked about shrinking the size of the book,
Yeah,
and I think the 6x9 size. I think the go-to size. So
it
I may
is.
be doing that as well. So
It's the
yeah,
gold
man.
standard now.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think what was it? We talked about this last week. DC Comics has that smaller. That's a hey Andrea, what's up? DC Comics has that smaller size
Hey,
for the graphic novels. So
yeah, yeah. So it's I was listening to a podcast just yesterday, and
yeah,
they were talking about the 6x9 or five, whatever the new format
six by
as the
nine. Yeah,
gold standard in the future because they're trying to gain market share because that today's generation prefers that size and over the larger size,
yeah.
which is why so so it's funny because I started drawing off on that size, but I realized the floppy is not that size, and I was like, oh, I gotta adjust, right? So so I'm trying. So I created a dimension that I can easily transfer between both sizes. So I just had to use the calculator to get the right dimensions in between. Um, but fun fact, I realized that when I'm drawing digital on a 300 DPI, if I have a small panel where I have a big scene in the small panel, it pixelates.
Oh,
Even
really?
under 300 DPI, I have to zoom, zoom, zoom. So I have to draw that panel on a larger page under those same dimensions and then crop it to fit so that I don't lose clarity and the sharpness of the inks.
Why?
I don't know. I was on the live
Yeah.
stream with Lou last time, and I was trying, and it was just, I didn't like it was coming up. I had to zoom, 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 and then they look. When I zoomed out, it looked choppy.
Wow.
So I just had to recreate the whole damn thing, and in a larger frame, unless I shoot up the resolution, and then
The
it's going to
DPI
take
to
a memory.
600.
It'll kill my memory.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you shut it up to 600 DPI, you may be able to do something with that.
It'll take up a lot of storage.
Yeah, but you're doing them at 6x9. I don't know. I guess
Yeah,
it's a give and take. But yeah,
yeah.
no, those files. I mean, files are just getting bigger and bigger, bro. Like 1 terabyte used to be like, oh my god, I got so much room. Now it's like if you're working digital,
No,
that's a lot. It's taking a
yeah.
lot.
I,
Yeah,
I'm actually ordering a what's it like 40 terabyte. I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to change because I have all these hard drives. If you look at like I haven't even set up my office yet, but I got all these external hard drives, and I'm
yeah.
like, you know what? I'm gonna go to servers. So
Oh Lord.
so I want to transfer and go into servers, and so I can have enough storage where I don't have to worry about transferring from drive to drive and backing up and backing up and backing up. So I got like 2 hard drives that are just backups, and then I got like 8 other hard drives. I'm like, yo, this is just let me just get servers. So that's my next investment is to have servers.
Yeah, yeah, man. But yeah, no. So that's what's going on. Like I said, we don't have a guest tonight, so we're gonna be talking about the topic for the evening. And I know that this is something that a lot of us are doing
You
now.
sent me an image, right?
I did.
Oh yeah. Hold
But we don't
on.
have to. I mean, it is what it is.
Hold on.
Throw the music on. Let's rock and roll.
You just want to rock and roll?
Let's rock and roll, bro. Don't worry
Want
about
to
it.
get your meds?
Let's do it.
Let's get your medicine. Let's get your medicine. Where's the damn thing?
Oh
Hold
man.
on. It's been a minute.
It's time for your medicine.
So what is the topic, George?
The topic for today is we're going to talk about Kickstarter funding goals.
Funding goals.
What's going on with Kickstarter and how some of these funding goals have been funding. I think Kickstarters and crowdfunding campaigns, they've been funding, but I don't think that people are making the money that they were making a few
Negative.
years ago. You know what I mean? And we were talking about this the other day. So yeah, you actually were the one that came up with this thing. So talk to us, Sam. What were you watching? What were you thinking? Why are we talking?
I was looking at I was looking at from August through November. I've seen about maybe 24 indies that did not fund.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Didn't fund.
that
Oh,
did not
shoot.
fund.
Wow.
And some of them had like really, like there was one that had $10,000 goal and they missed it by $300. Right.
Oh,
It's like getting
yeah.
fun. You know how much, how painful that is? Yo,
Mm.
10 grand and you miss by
But that's
300.
when you call grandma or
Yo,
or
but
an
grandma
uncle or
got run over
something.
by a reindeer, bro.
Just wait, resurrect grandma, bro. Like $300 from
Yo,
10,000.
I've seen people, I've seen people with, $3,000 goals and
Yeah,
missed by a mile, right?
right.
And then, I've seen there's been a higher percentage of not making it more so than I've seen before. Because you'll see the characters that come out of nowhere and they've never done a campaign and they won $100,000 and they don't even make a dollar. Those guys are. I'm not looking at those guys. I'm looking at guys that's been on on the trail, but
Right.
and previous campaigns have funded, but this time haven't. So I was wondering what's causing that. I think, but it could be it's a multitude of things. I don't think
Yeah.
there's one thing, right?
Yeah,
Um,
Dan says economy's tough right now.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I think I don't think that there's just one thing, right, that does it. Definitely the economy is one. But you know what, with that, Dan, like we were talking about this the other day, Sam, people will spend on what they want.
yeah,
Like they will spend money. Like even
yeah,
if they don't have it, they'll spend it on whatever they want.
yeah,
They're not going to take a chance on something they don't know. And
yeah,
I think that's where we are, right? With like indies, like people don't know who we are. We don't have a fan base, so to speak, yet. So when we're asking for $10,000, that's a big ask. Like that's for like the guys who have, maybe they
yeah,
worked for or drew for DC and Marvel, and they bring their fan base, because now they have their own books, and maybe the fan base comes because they love their art or whatever. But right off the bat, like that, I don't think it's going to happen. And to be fair, I think that all right, people don't want to take a chance on something that maybe they're never going to get. Right. Sometimes, like, and we got to be honest, sometimes the books just aren't that good, right? Like the quality of the books isn't there. And so yeah, I mean that's gonna hurt your bottom line when when you're asking for, like you said, for $10,000, but it looks like a zine. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
it's probably not gonna happen. So I think that that's affecting the goals as well, not just the economy,
Or
but also that.
and it could be like maybe you're on your issue number 10, right?
Mhm.
But the first 5 issues got them excited, but then you started losing them, and they were like, you know what? I'll pass on this one. Maybe I'll
Mm.
come back for the next one, right? It could be it got stale or they got tired of it or they grew out of it. There could be a lot of reasons, right?
Yeah.
The economy part, that's a tough one to swallow because when I look at Kickstarter and I see how many people are just killing it, right? So there is an audience out there. It's just, I think there's something in each different person's strategy that needs to be refined, whether it's pre launch, during launch, post launch. But I think one of the biggest things is cultivating an email list. It's one thing that I don't have. I only have about 140 people on my email list. It hasn't moved much. I haven't been growing it. That's one of the things that hurts me too, right? Because on Kickstarter they say you need to have a successful launch. You have to have a couple hundred people signed up because only a fraction of that population is going to pledge on the first week, right? So
Yeah.
you need, so 200 people, and they're saying 15-20% is going to pledge, right? If 15%, 15-20% of 10 people, you're screwed, right? So especially if you have a high goal. So I think one of the key things is to cultivate that audience, build that fan base first, and that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of talking. It takes a lot of socializing. It takes a lot of networking, and that takes a lot of time away from the creativity part. And that's the part that I think some people struggle with. I struggle with it because every time I'm doing something that's not creative, I get frustrated with myself. Because I want to draw, I want to create, I want to write. But it's a need.
Yeah, Spooky says nothing draws a crowd like a crowd. People like the idea that others already trust something before they support. And you know
Yeah.
what? That's very true, especially in at shows. Like if people see a crowd forming around a table, they automatically look to see what's going on over there. What's
Yeah.
everybody looking at? And
Yeah.
they get curious. You know what I'm saying? They get curious. And at that point, You got to go in there and lock the sale down.
That's
you know?
exactly what, and there's proof of that because that's exactly what
Yeah.
happened with me at the RetroCon Expo, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking like the day is done. Like I'm thinking it's a wash, right? One guy comes over, he starts looking at everything. He's like, boom, boom, boom. I want everything. I want one of everything, and I want every variant cover. I was like, what? Another guy comes over. What are you doing? He's going, I'm getting all this. Blah blah. He goes, oh, because I also had the mystery box.
Right,
Oh,
right.
yeah. He goes, I want the same. I said, everything? He said, yeah. Then it became a line out of nowhere. But it was the last 2 hours of the event, and I was dying a miserable death. And then boom, boom, it created a frenzy, right?
You know,
So it could take that one instance can change the whole dynamic of the event.
and that's what's frustrating about the internet, because how do you create that online? How do you create that one person who buys everything, and you create that online? And I think to Spooky's point is like, if your campaign has 100 backers, then people are like, all right, this has a few backers. Let me see what's going on with this. And at that point, it's just a matter of them making the decision whether they want it or not. But at least the people are there. I think that I'm looking at Kickstarter right now. There's a book based on, Oz, the Wizard of Oz is based on that, right? But it's got, two girls on the page making out. $53,000. 1,145 people want that.
Yep.
We're in a tough spot, you and I, because what we're doing is for a younger audience.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that draw that has, where you put that on the page. And listen, don't get me wrong, it's really well drawn. It's not like it's a crappy looking book. It's a really good looking book, but sometimes you need that to attract. And Oz is a popular, property. It's a popular IP.
Yeah.
So,
and the reality is, I can tell you on both hands how many indie creators we've seen drop their projects to go with not safe, for work, because it makes money, right? And so it goes back to, that's a whole different conversation of, you're doing it for the money or you're doing it because for the art form, right? So it is no longer about brand building. It's really about just capitalizing on a moment. And these are just moments in time, because, just like with everything else, everything's trend. It's cyclical, right? Peaks and valleys, but there's always going to be, the friskies out there that want that stuff. It's been they've been out there for a long time, right? So they've been out there since the beginning of time, right? It's like, so there's always going to be those that want that stuff, right? So there's always going to be a market there. That's always going to be money. But if that's your, go for it.
You know which ones always bug me out are the ones that have like 900 backers, but they're like at $100,000, and I'm like, how?
Yeah.
How do you have 900 people and you're at $100,000? Like, the math is just crazy on that.
Yeah.
Like, how much are they pledging per?
Or when you got 17 backers and you got $6,000 with 17 back, like, wait, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no,
it's like they're all dropping 500 each.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, man. But that's the other thing. And from the other side of that, right? I get nervous when I get somebody who pledges a lot of money. When you get like a $200-$300 pledge or $400 pledge, because that can make or break your campaign. Because if that money doesn't come through, man, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
$400 on, say, for example, a $1,000 goal. You think you got it, and then that person doesn't come through. You're left with $600.
I think the biggest one for me was $200 that didn't come through. And the lowest was 25. Even the last campaign, I had 3 people change their mind last minute. That equated to about $125. And just those 3 people, right? So, but I don't think I think every campaign I have people who will pledge and then 4 or 5 days later change their mind.
Right.
It happens.
It does. It does happen. Yeah, no, it does happen. And so, and that's the thing. How do you keep that from happening? I guess you really don't have any control. Like, that's the thing at a show. I mean, knock on wood, I've never had somebody come back and say, "Hey, I want my money back for this book."
That happened once. Remember remember it was back in our early days. That lady with the kid when we met Nino Massonera.
What happened?
That it was a New York Comic Fest.
What did she want back? What did she come back for?
She bought Cosmic, walked away for an hour, came back and says, "I want my money back."
Oh yes, yes, I
Remember
do
that? That
remember
was the
her.
first
Yeah,
time I
yeah, yeah.
experienced that. I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was stuck on stupid. I was like, what? I said, it doesn't make sense. I'm not a
Did you give her?
vendor.
Did you give her the
I
refund?
gave
I don't
it back because
remember.
I didn't want her
You did.
causing a
Okay,
scene. It was a mama
you
with
did.
a kid. I was like, I don't need her screaming and catching a tantrum at a convention. I was like, yo, let me just get this over with.
Yes, that's crazy, bro.
Yeah. I was like, he had boogers all over it and everything. I was like, come on.
Wow. Yeah, you could have cleared it up, first lady.
I
That's
know.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Dad says sounds like you need to give Wonder Duck a girlfriend.
Oh, dang.
Damn, man. Listen, it's tough. It's not easy out there with these with these younger audience books. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna just start drawing naked chicks on the cover for it. Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, this is what we're gonna do.
It's funny because everybody has an opinion. That was another thing, right? Everybody has an opinion, and I think that also screws people up, right? Because I was thinking about it, right? When I was looking, I was sitting back, I was talking to self. I was like, self, back in the days. Let us ponder a moment. Why don't we? I said, back in the days, back in the crazy comics days, there was no opinion would ever persuade. You know how it was, right? I was just like a beast mode, and we were breaking rules. We didn't know what rules we were. If I don't know there's a rule to be broken, I didn't give a damn because I didn't know there was a rule that existed, right? But we were breaking rules. And so there was that level of innocence because in ignorance, right, that guided us because we were just doing whatever we thought. But as you get older, everybody has an opinion. You start listening.
Yeah,
And you start adjusting and you start doubting yourself and you start doubting your strategies and you start doing what everybody else is doing instead of trying to find your own lane. And I found myself doing that for a minute. And I was like, yo, I'm done with it. I'm going to go back to being the Sam that's just a beast, right? I'm going back to that mindset where I'm just going to figure it out and I'm going to find that lane and I'm not going to follow the crowd. And thank you for your feedback, but if that works for you, doesn't mean it's going to work for me. I'm going to go this route, right? So I think that's another thing that also slows people down because there's this whole thing about community where everybody's trying to fit in. Everybody wants to be a part of something. To what extent? Where you lose your voice, you lose your identity, you lose, what makes you special. So I think you got to find your lane. You got to be who you were set out to be from jump and trust your instincts, right? And know that you will live or die on the sword by your own means rather than listening to all the voices because everybody wants to be an expert, but nobody really has a solid solution, a foundation, unless you're going to talk to the established people, right? But in the lane that we're in, everybody has an opinion, right? So I think the reality is you got to find your own lane and you got to find what works for you and you got to work hard at doing the things you don't like to do and cultivate an audience in order for you, if this is what you want to do.
Yeah. And I think that's the main thing is you got to do what works for you. That's what it is. What I don't understand is some of these campaigns that are very successful, like 20 or 30K, and don't deliver on time or ignore their campaign. I'd be bending backwards for those contributors. Yeah, man.
Yeah. I think we waited 2 years for one campaign, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, we waited 2 years, and I'm still waiting for a bunch of campaigns that were supposed to send it, and they haven't sent anything yet.
Yeah. But you know what? Sometimes, and not to make excuses for them, but what if those are the campaigns where they made, it shows that they have $20,000, and you know how we talk about, but they only had like 15 or 20 backers or whatever, or 100 backers. How the hell did they make $20,000? Maybe it was those angel investors that dropped, and they took out $10,000 or whatever the hell it was. You know what I mean? Like a large chunk, and they're left with nothing to produce the book. And now it looks great, but they have nothing to produce. I think for me, if that's the case, you have to communicate that to people.
Yeah.
And
there's a campaign that was running, right? That was struggling to make the goal. Then overnight, one person dropped it. Looks like $1,000, right? It wasn't a tier. It looks like it was just a donation.
Bonus, yeah.
There's a risk right there. That's a G. There's a risk that's not going to be there, right? And then but I think those are the challenges. And then some people just milk it. They fix the game and to make it look like they funded early to get everybody excited. Yeah. So there's a lot of different things that contribute to it, but then there's a lot of really solid campaigns out there. Yeah. There are people that I've backed consistently that they've delivered on time. They have solid product. I really love the artwork, the story. But then there are those who I'll take a chance on, and then the next thing you know, I got egg in my face because I'm still waiting for it.
Yeah, that's why I like to I don't put out a campaign unless my book is done, so I know that the book is finished. The artist isn't gonna just disappear on me, and I have all the money but no artist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was able to fund and I got my money, and then where's the artist? He's gone.
Yeah.
I can't deliver now. Yeah, no, for sure. I think that also when you're doing these campaigns, I think you have to. All right, so we talked about like how people have funding goals, and maybe your goal is not what am I saying? My goal for my campaign, right, was set at 500. I $500 is not that $500 doesn't even cover a print run, right? But I knew that I had my, I was I had the pre-sales on my website, so I was going to be able to do that, and that was fine. So my funding goal was low because I do want to fund, because that's one of the things that, to Spooky's point, if a campaign is funded, I think you have more of a chance of people coming on board and say, all right, that thing funded, cool, it's going to happen. Let me throw more money into it, right?
Yeah.
But at what point are you saying, hey, I only need this much? When do you start being realistic? Like, I know you were a little more realistic with your goal. Like, I think your goal was set at what, 1,200?
It was 1,250, and that covers the
$1,250.
cost of the hardcover and the soft cover
Right.
at a minimum print run.
Right, because you knew that's what was going to be needed. So you knew that if once you got that goal, you were going to be able to make the book. You were going to be able to print the book because the book is already made.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? About like lowering your goal just to fund it when you really need more? You know what I mean?
Repeat that question again.
So how do you feel about people who set their goal low, even though they need
No,
more
I think
to
you're
actually
setting
fund
yourself
it?
up for failure. They're gaming it, right? They want to show that if I my goal that at 250, I really need 1,500. But if I get funded with the 250 early, I can say 300% funded or whatever. 250. They're trying to game the algorithm. But that's a risk as itself, because to everybody else who backed it, you were funded, right? And you don't need any help. You're funded. Boom. Now people move on to the next project, whatever. You needed really 1,500. You made 450. You still can't pay your artist or print your book because you screwed yourself because you were trying to be, trying to game the system. I think I put exactly what I normally do is I say, like with the Forbidden, I said if I have to print 25 hardcovers and 25 soft covers, 200-page books, and the add-ons, right? So I said I took that total. I said the minimum. I just did the bare minimum. If I just did 50, whatever it is, what's it going to cost me? What am I going to need? And that's the goal I put. Everything beyond that is perfect because it's paying for itself, right? But I did the minimum, right? So what I did was I went and I looked at the cost of production, shipping, taxes, packaging, all that stuff, everything, and I put it there, and that was the number I put. So I never make anything, and sometimes I take an L because the shipping costs keep changing, taxes keep changing, prices of printing keep changing, right? So the price that I price my items at the launch of the Kickstarter, when I'm going to the printer, they raise their price by 50 cents, right? Yeah. So now I'm going to take an L because I didn't factor that in because I couldn't anticipate or forecast the future. So those are the risks we take if we're not overachieving. But I can tell you right now, I did 13 campaigns. Not one dime. Everything went to the exact production.
Yeah. See, I think what I do is obviously because I'm paying my artist up front. Like, so I have a dollar amount in my mind for how much I need to come back to me before, before I make anything on these books. And no, it's tough. It doesn't. It never comes back. I haven't made back what I paid my artists yet on these things. And so the goal is to sell enough books to do that.
Kickstarter is not profitable for me. It's not a revenue source. It is a tool to get the product produced and to get into new hands. That's basically what it is. But where I make money is through the website, or if I do LCS, it's all in my pocket. It's all profit, right? If I'm doing, bookstores or schools or libraries, that's all profit. Conventions, it's a risk, So I can tell you, I think last year I did 12 or 14, and maybe 6 were profitable. Of the rest, because of the travel, the hotels, the food, the restaurants, all that stuff, the table costs, printing costs, because sometimes you have to re-up on your printing. All of it's a cost.
What up, Mr. Fish? So Anibal has a good question. If you guys had to make 5 commandments for this thing we call indie publishing, what would they be?
Finish your product first.
I was gonna say finish your book.
Yeah,
just
finish it first.
Finish
Commandment number 1: Thou shalt finish.
Thou shalt finish.
Heathen.
Thou shalt finish your freaking book.
Yes.
And I think that comes right off the top. Like, you got to finish it.
Finish it.
I always say, like, you can't promote something that's not complete. Like, because you're gonna be in trouble, because you're gonna do such a great job at publishing, at promoting this thing, and it's not finished, and people are gonna walk away. I shall not finish. Time books on time. Time books on time.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely finish. What else? I think that I'm trying to think of something off the top, like, just because I think, to me, that's the most important thing. I also think that you have to put quality into this book, man. I think that the quality has to be there. I'm not saying it has to look like Marvel, it has to look like DC. I'm not saying any of that stuff. I'm just saying it has to look good, though. Like, it can't look like, although I say that, and then look at Captain Underpants.
That's what
right?
I'm saying.
Like, I guess story-wise, it's got to be good. It's got to be a good story.
It's a good
story.
It's beauty's in the eye of the beholder, bro.
Well, that's with art, right?
Yeah.
That's with art. But story's different, I think. I think a good story is a good story. I don't think you can debate a good story. I can talk to you about I didn't like that movie, but I didn't like it because it's just not my type of movie. Mm-hmm. But I can't tell you that it was a bad movie. There are bad movies. Don't get me wrong. There are bad movies. But me and you can discuss. Give me a movie you like.
Movie that I like, Braveheart.
Shit, I like Braveheart too.
Didn't we go see it together?
No.
Who did we see it with? I saw it with somebody. We were crying in the theater like babies.
Wow, yeah, right. That's cool.
When it's like, freedom.
Here's a movie that I liked. I don't know if you saw this movie. You ever seen La La Land?
Yes.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun. I love that movie, right? But you liked it. You liked it, right? I loved it. I loved it. Why I loved it? I felt like it kind of touched, like, because it's about an artist. It's about an act or whatever. So it kind of hit home for me, and I really enjoyed the movie. But it was a good story. We can debate on that. There was too much singing. I'm not really into musicals. I don't like that whole musical thing in the movie. But you can't deny that it was a good movie. It was a well-written movie.
I like Fifth Element a lot better.
You're comparing La La Land to Fifth Element? What the hell just happened right now?
I had to throw a wrench in the conversation.
Yo, hold on, Mr. Fish. He's got some good ones. He's coming up with some good ones here. Thou shalt hire an editor.
There you go.
That will hurt thy feelings, for no man can see his own mistakes.
Whoa,
I like that.
Whoa, feelings.
I like that. The man who edits his own books is a fool. And no, your mom doesn't count either. Get a stranger to edit your book. That's a good one. That's a good commitment.
If you can't afford an editor,
commandment.
Send it to reviewers. Get feedback.
You think reviewers? Yeah.
Legit reviewers. That's not a guy that says I'm an indie comic creator and let me review your books. No. Send it to someone who's been doing it who has a depth of knowledge, who's a lover of the game, who has experience. Because even editors, I mean, you remember back then we used to send all our stuff to editors and reviewers just to get feedback. So if you can't afford an editor, there's a lot of people out there that would love to give you feedback, and it's free of charge.
See, I think I'm with Fish. I think you gotta find some money in the budget for an editor, dude. I think it's.
But that was my second rule. Have a budget.
Yeah.
It's like you can't get an editor unless you have the budget. So determine your budget and then what the costs are going to be and what you can't afford and what you're willing to pay for. So I think it's finish your book, have a budget, and then because some people.
But I think in your case,
if you're doing it to yourself,
yeah, right. For you, it's finish the book, and that's not easy, but it's easier to do for you because you're an artist, you're a writer. For an artist, that number one commandment would be. Yeah, create a budget. You know what I'm saying? That would be the first thing you would have to do is create a budget so that you have a decent. So you have a decent artist and you have an editor,
Yep.
right? Because those two things are gonna produce a quality book,
Yeah.
right? And make sure that and they're gonna help you out with your writing. So I think that the budget, if you aren't an artist writer, then I think the budget is the number one thing you gotta make sure that you have in hand, and then obviously finish the book, or get an editor,
Yeah.
finish the book. You know what I mean?
Because remember back in the days, I sent it to Andy Schmidt, editor for Marvel Comics. I sent it to Newsarama, Comic Book Resources. I sent it to established foundations to get
But see,
feedback.
but I think that, feedback is just somebody's opinion. It's not helping you. Hey, you got to type on page 5. Hey, the pace of the book. They may tell you, yeah, I didn't like the pace, but again, to me, that's
I got some in-depth feedback.
yeah. I still think
I was
that's
reading
just
some of the
critic.
old ones. I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, I got some really. I was like, I wonder if how I processed it. I don't remember processing it back then. I was like, I wonder how I processed it back then.
Yeah, but I think that a good review could be fool's gold, because a good review may be somebody who isn't trying to hurt your feelings. And it's like, yeah, this is a good one, man. I really like this one. This is good. And meanwhile, your joint is just all messed up, but they just didn't want to hurt you. You know what I mean? Like, just be careful with that. Like you said, reputable. But I still think an editor is what you need. What did Spooky say? Spooky said a good story can sell quirky and mediocre art, but even the greatest art in a horrible story will have me eventually checking out of the book and looking forward to the artist's other work. Word, that's true. Get people that don't read comics to read it too. They will what do you say? They will point out things that a seasoned reader might look over if it doesn't make sense to a first-time reader. Fix it. That's good. Thou shalt pay no man.
Basically, he's saying, I can't say I'll make you famous.
Yeah. Hey man, yeah, can you draw this for me? Yeah, I'll make you famous. Yeah. Feedback is different from a critique. Interesting. Yeah, okay, that's a good point. Thou shalt not get butthurt when someone gives honest feedback.
Yeah, you gotta understand that if you're saying, so unsolicited feedback is different from when you're soliciting it, right? So, because there's a lot of people who want to give you feedback and you didn't even ask for it. But if you're saying, hey, I love for your opinion, then you got to be ready to hear not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Right. Yeah. So I think you got to understand the difference, what you're asking for. And that's where you have to understand that it's a business. And if you really want to polish your game, then you're going to have to get as many eyeballs on it as possible.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think we have create a budget, get a strong team, hire a strong team to help you out, help you, with your book. I think then you talk about finishing the book. What else are we doing? I think that part of those commandments too is you gotta step out of your comfort zone.
Word.
You have to learn how to promote yourself.
Word.
My nephew, he's 23 years old, and he's an artist. He goes to Sacramento State here. He's an artist, but he's a little shy. You know what I mean? So this weekend we went, and here in Sacramento, there's not here. I'm not in Sacramento, but in Sacramento, there's a huge artistic community. There's tons of little stores that will sell prints. There's a gallery downtown that will sell your prints inside the gallery, but you got to walk in there and you got to tell them who you are and what you do.
Yes.
And come out of your shell and say, hey, do you support local artists? I'm a local artist. Here's my portfolio. Here's my book. I would love to put these prints in your store. How do we go about doing that? And doing that is important. You know what I'm saying? It's important. And a lot of artists, we're introverts, so we don't like to do all that kind of stuff. We don't like to talk to that. But I think you need to learn how to be comfortable in that scenario. Just be comfortable being uncomfortable. I think that's something that's very important.
One of the things that it's you want to get into local stores. What's in it for them? So if I don't do consignment. When I go talk to an LCS, it's like, no, you're gonna buy it. You're not gonna give it back to me because everybody went through it and wrinkled it. So for me, it's got to be invoiced right on the spot. But what I do is I'll offer a blank sketch cover for free to them. They can sell it at whatever price they want. So they get something in return. So look, I'm willing to give you this, and I'm willing to come and do a signing or whatever. And this way, they get something for free. They're buying it at what you would, at half off or whatever it is. So they're making money on every issue, and then you're willing to show up. So they want to see that you're willing to do something and also give something as well, because they want to make money too. So, hey, I get a free sketch cover or variant cover, or if you just create a retailer's edition cover that you just make to negotiate with retailers, there's so many different ways you can go about it. Some of them don't even want anything. They're just willing to support you. But then there's going to be the ones that are like, what's in it for me? You know, I don't, every inch of space is dedicated to what people know. Why would I want to take a chance on you? How about I give you a couple of sketch covers? Boom. And all right, cool.
See, I think you're anti-consignment because of where you are in your career as an indie publisher. Because remember, when we first started and we went to Midtown Comics, we did our books on consignment.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we
They
did.
paid on spot.
No,
Yeah.
Well, I know when I went in there, my thing was on consignment, and they sold.
No, they don't. They paid on the spot.
Yeah, no, I know that I did it different. But I just think that it depends on where you are. I'm not saying don't. I just think that it depends on where you are, man. If you feel like, hey, your consignment works for me because you feel like your book is going to sell out of that store, go for it. Go for it. Why not? You want to give me a shot at consignment? Fine, we'll do it. Let's do consignment, and then we'll see what happens.
Well, you can
You gotta
do.
roll the dice.
I just won't budge on that one, but you can say, look, maybe you're on the fence about it. How about I set up a table. We'll see the crowd reaction, and if I sell some books, you pick it up. Boom. You can do that because they're willing to have somebody in the store to create a buzz or whatever it is and see how you do. I find that at least in Texas, there's a lot of retailers that are really supportive and they're willing to say, yeah, I'll give you a table. Go ahead. Boom. And if it does, you know what? I'll take 10. I'll buy it from you now and I'll put it on my bookshelf.
Yeah.
Boom. So they want to see you do the legwork, especially if they don't know who you are. Right.
Yeah.
And they also want to see, what the reaction is. Are people stopping at your table? Are they buying your stuff?
Yeah. I just think if you do have a product that I think will sell, I think the consignment thing can work. I don't think it can't. To your point, I think nowadays though, I think comic book shops, especially where you are, want that person in the store to bring in people because people like to meet the artist, right? Mm-hmm. So they want to do that. So yeah, if you want to set up a table, but some of those stores take a percentage of what you make too.
I haven't experienced any of that.
You know what I mean? Yeah, no. Some stores will take a percentage. Like, okay, cool, you can sell it, but we'll take a percentage of what it is. And it really depends on your market and where you are.
Yeah,
right?
I haven't experienced that yet, and I've done it at 5 different store brands. Yeah. And none of them have ever said, "Oh, put me in that position to have to negotiate that." Yeah. So I feel fortunate, because I know that's not the case for everybody.
No, it's not. Spooky says, yeah, non-fans do have different eyes. That's true. If you're making a book for fun, make it for fun and show your mom. If you're making it to sell, be open to real feedback. Yep. True. Anonymous repeat customers is a good gauge. Right. People who you don't know randomly. Yep. Yeah, here you go. I'll pick up your book. And that's how you create the fans, right? That those people become fans. Thou shall not uplift thy fellow creators, for filling another man's cup will help fill your own. Look at this guy. Mr. Fish is going in with the
cup runneth over.
Word. I'm too ADHD for consignment. I'll forget all about it and never go back.
Yeah, because then.
But see, that's a good reason though. That's a good reason not to do it. That's a good reason not to do it. If you know yourself and say, all right, I'm not going back to the store. I forgot how many.
And you don't have the bandwidth. You got to think of it. At least for me, every comic shop is a drive.
Well, yeah,
you think I'm going to go and drive to every comic? Now I'm going to be a distributor and no, it's like, look, but I always give a good reason. Like, the podcast helps, all the stuff that I do to promote helps. But it requires work. You got to convince them why you're worth taking the risk on. Right. And, so that's where, to your point, you can't be shy. You got to be confident. Pitch to them is what's going to, because they're looking at every dollar, every nickel, every inch of space in their retail space, right? So you got to be confident. You got to give a good pitch. You got to be likable.
But you also have to have you have to have a good book, bro. Like I think that's the key. You have to have a good book, like or something that they feel that they can sell. It's got to be marketable.
I hear what you're saying, but dude, remember we used to go to Midtown Comics and they had the indie section, and we used to say, "How did this get here?" right?
Yeah,
So you know what I'm saying. So I mean,
yeah.
it might not be our taste, but it's somebody else's.
Yeah, I guess if you charm the store enough to
You know what I'm
buy to
saying? You
sell
know,
the
we used to
book.
say like, "Damn, how did these guys get here?" Right? Why aren't we on the shelf? Right? We used to say it all the time, but but that's the reality of it. But I think again, um, that's the beauty of the art form. You know, there's something for everybody.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You know, all I say is make sure that every page turn, every time you pick up a pen, if you're an artist, you're better than the last illustration you did. If you're a writer, every time you write that next chapter, you've improved on your storytelling. You know, it's like, but that means you have to be a student, right? As well, you gotta be able to. If you're a writer, you gotta love to read. If you're an artist, you gotta appreciate art and be around other artists that inspire you, or you know, what I'm saying that kind of stuff. I mean, I love art. There are so many people out there that I just follow because every time they produce something, I'm like, damn, look at that, right? You know, I'm just a fan.
Yeah. I love those absolute strangers that have backed every campaign I've never met. Yeah,
Yeah.
just back from my daughter's birthday festivities. Oh, what's up, Carrie? So Gary says, is the barcode integral? Is the barcode integral? I don't know that it's integral as an indie creator. I think we get to that, right? Depending on what you want to do. If obviously
you're
you
looking
want to
for
go through a distributor,
distribution,
yeah, if
yeah,
you're going through a distributor, then yes, it's integral.
yes,
You have to have it. Absolutely. But if you're just going to you're just starting, you're trying to, just get your name out there and you just want to go to conventions and do it for
and
conventions,
you don't need it.
then you don't need it at conventions. But if you are going to go through the distributor and you want it to get into stores, yeah, they're going to need that UPC because they need something to scan the book and for their inventory.
And you're talking about now you're doing business with people who have an inventory control system. They
Correct.
track
Yeah.
their orders. You know, everything's is connected to dollars spent, and so they're looking at money in, money out, units in, units out, right? And now you're working with a different beast. So yeah, and they cost, right? So that's the other thing. That's why budgets are important. Like you got to plan
Yeah.
short and long term. Your short game is build your brand, finish your project, you know, all that stuff. Your long game is, do you want to get into stores, what that looks like, and how much money you're going to need to do that.
So in dealing with distribution with Bilbo, there are two things. There's a difference between a UPC, a UP code, or UPC code they call it, but it's a UPC, and a barcode. Those are two different things. I have a UPC on my book. I don't have barcodes on my books.
Yeah.
Not yet. I'm gonna get the barcodes for like my graphic novels and stuff like that. But you can get fairly cheap UPC codes that's all you really need on a single issue comic. It's just that it'll scan it for like what variant, if it's a variant cover, if it's the first edition of the book, and what issue it is. Those are the little numbers that go in there. And so you can get those at a reasonable price. You don't have to pay too much money for those. The barcodes are the ones that cost money. And the barcodes, I'd probably buy like a bunch of them for whatever amount, because like one barcode is what, like $30 or something like that, or maybe more. It's like $100 for like one barcode. But yeah, I think barcodes, if you are going to go into stores, UPC codes, like if you are going to go into stores, definitely have those. Are they integral? I don't know if they're integral, because I think that you can get away with not having one if you're just selling your books at conventions, street fairs, book signings and things like that. You don't have to. Sam's doing research right now. I can tell. He just zoned out and started looking at the screen. You can tell when Sam zones out. We got 5 minutes, buddy. What you got?
Yeah, UPC codes are $30. Barcodes are more.
Yeah, barcodes are more. Yeah. I did once table at an event at a store that did take some copies to leave for them to sell on the racks. That's cool. Yeah, no need for barcodes. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing. That's one of the things that I think a lot of indie creators at conventions fail to capitalize on. You're at an event where you have vendors, retailers, comic shops that are there, and they have big booths. There's your opportunity to go and talk to them there and say, hey, what's the chances of you carrying my product in your store? Boom. And you can start negotiating with them there and building those relationships there. You can give them a free sample while you're at the convention, blah, blah, blah. You can be walking. You might not be making your table, but you just sold to 3 different stores, 40 copies, right? So you're like, oh, cool. So you got to think about that too. Are you networking at those events to get exposure?
Yeah, ISBNs are the ultimate buy in bulk
Yeah.
items. The more you buy, the cheaper they get.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, we like big we like big boots, and I cannot lie. There he is. What's up, Rap? He showed up. No, but this has been an interesting discussion, bro. Yeah, no, this has been fun.
Yeah,
we
it is
have-
fun. Huh?
Do we have anybody next week?
No, next week, no. Traveling for
No
work.
show.
So it was a guest who booked themselves for the early January. So yeah, so next week there's no show. I am traveling for work, but this Saturday I will be drawing with friends. So join me 6 p.m. Texas time, which is 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be drawing with friends. And last weekend I was drawing, a page from Cosmic Wars. This weekend I will be drawing probably Lord Evil or one of the characters from the series. And yeah, and then hopefully my friends could come back this weekend. And
Were you solo? You were solo Saturday?
last week,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So, but yeah, so 6 p.m. Saturdays. So you're doing a Texas draw.
Texas draw. Doo-doo.
Yeehaw!
That's funny.
Yes.
Yeah, so we won't be here next week, but in 2 weeks we'll be back. And don't forget, for those who will pledge to the campaigns, obviously you guys will be getting your rewards very, very soon. My book is at the printer right now. Hopefully I'll get it back within the next couple of weeks. Digital copies will be going out in just a few. Well, actually, I'll have some out tomorrow. Don't forget to fill out the surveys if you haven't done so yet. And that's where I'm at. Where you at, Sam?
Yeah, same thing. Kickstarter just finally dropped the dinero into my account. So tomorrow, I know it said January, but I'm going to start sending out all the digital rewards tomorrow. And sending out after this episode, I'm going to be sending out the file to go to get the proofs for the hardcover and the softcover edition of Forbidden, and everything's being sent out to get printed. And we'll go from there. So look on your inboxes between tomorrow and Saturday for all your digital rewards. And if you haven't done so already, sign up for the launch of Cosmic Wars. We launch in February. It's amazing. It's dope. It's fun. It's all those things wrapped into one. But yeah, so pretty dope. If you like this episode, give us a thumbs up, hit that like button, subscribe, share, tell a friend. When we grow, the independent community grows. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We truly appreciate every single one of you. We do this because of you. So thank you so much. If you need signed books for the day I was on, holla. All right. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Fish. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon. With that said, I am Sam, the crazy man, Vera.
George, the Dreamer Medina.
And we are.
It's just easy. It's not. Crazy. Acquiesce.
No, I was talking about my friend Acquiesce. Say my name, right?
This is what you were thinking? Oh, my
He described me. He said, I'm the. What?
Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. To Catch the Craze. You are listening to Catch the Craze. Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze.
Candy girl.